Welcome to another segment of the Bible Gals
What?
and guys.
Yeah,
And-
welcome to our
their
show.
faithful
And guys.
companions.
They're faithful companions.
Right.
No,
Okay.
welcome.
Yes. Well, HC groups
HC groups,
discussion
yes.
in Bible Guys and Bible Gals fashion. How about that?
There you
It's
go.
good.
Okay,
There we
so
go.
we'll allow it.
Yes. Hey, so they're asking us to do a pretty fun segment. Have you ever seen the traditional newlywed game? We're going to do our version of that. So what's going to happen is we're going to have 4 questions, and it's primarily us trying to guess their answers.
Okay.
So I'll read the question. All 4 of us write, and then we'll go through all 4 questions first.
Okay.
Right? So no, one at a time.
One at a time, yeah.
One at a time. So we'll just have to make sure that nobody sees the other's answer. So
Okay.
the first question is this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't look.
What is her favorite snack food?
Now
That was a really tough
writing. We're writing this.
Okay, don't let her see.
I like all the snacks.
Okay. I think I got it. I got the right one. Whether she
Then
wrote
I'm
it
all
down or
over
not,
the
I don't
place.
know.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we'll let you guys reveal. Now, first of all, here's
Okay.
how the game goes. The man does his guess first. So, what did you
Okay.
guess for her?
I wrote Puffy Cheetos.
So you're showing the camera, Puffy Cheetos. Do we have a
Puffy
camera
Cheetos.
Okay.
right there,
There we
Puffy
go.
Cheetos? Okay. So, Bonnie.
Well, I said the Carmelo candy
Carmelo,
bar.
I was going to do that.
Okay, well, these are 2 different snack categories.
Okay.
They
So
are.
it depends on the mood.
I could have written Carmelo.
So we need to take that lower third off the screen so we can see
Oh.
the actual answers.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. 0 points for us.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Come on.
Ready?
So I knew
Ready, Liz?
Carmelo.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so what is her favorite snack food? I put down potato chips.
And the answer is barbecue chips.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Of course
I
it
actually
counts.
love
Okay.
every kind of chip.
We will
Okay.
permit
I love
that.
chips.
Okay.
Yes,
We will
yes.
permit
Well,
that.
I mean,
Woohoo.
barbecue chips are potato chips.
Okay.
Was
You
I
guys
wrong
are
on
ahead.
this one?
No, I do also
I
love
know
those.
you do.
Okay, awesome.
I love it all.
Very cool.
Okay.
Let's put our
Okay. Okay.
discarded pile
I'm not-
over here.
No, you're just trying to brag.
All right, quick.
No, what?
What is the one place that she wants to visit?
Oh,
This is a very obscure
I just
asked
took you there.
worded question. Like, I mean,
Okay.
it could be like down the streets.
One
it could be like,
place.
hey, let's go to that new Farmer Jack's.
I
Grocery
feel
store.
like it's meaning vacation or someplace
So let's do that.
An out-of-town place?
Let's say
Something-
Out of
A
town.
vacation.
Travel.
place.
travel.
A travel
Vacation?
place.
Out of town.
A travel place. Out of town destination.
Yeah, so it could be
Okay.
within the United States. It could be in Tahiti.
What is one
Just
place that she wants to
Somewhere
visit?
somewhere in the world
Yeah.
other than
that
here.
she wants
Yes.
to visit.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I
Let's,
want
okay.
to go.
I'm going to
and
do a region.
we're assuming that this is a place she's not visited before, because this doesn't say again.
Oh, okay.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Because then she would just write Florida, where my daughter lives.
Okay. Well, then write that.
No, that's not what she's thinking.
That's not what she's thinking.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
boy, this is tough
one
because
place
I don't know if you're going to get
where I
this.
wanna go.
I really
I
don't.
just took you where you wanted to go.
See, you don't
One of my
influence me.
children would get this. Actually, probably more than one of my children.
God,
Because they love you, Liz.
Way to put pressure on
They're
me.
paying attention.
Okay, I feel
Okay.
like this is
When you have
like
daughters, it's they pick up on that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
They just do.
I
like
feel
vacation
this is-
spots.
Okay, this is a tough one.
like,
Because it's a girly thing.
Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
I'm going to say Europe.
Oh.
Oh, I thought this would be too.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
there you go.
Way to go.
I thought
There you
that
go.
would be
Bonnie
too
wrote
broad.
You're
Europe.
at 1.5.
I thought that'd be too broad.
One and a half.
That is
There you
so
go.
good.
Okay.
I feel
Okay,
like
I
we're
got
not
it.
going to win.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
even. Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay, what'd you
So
say?
I wrote Italy. Because you
No,
were.
it's where you want to go. That's what that is. It's where you want to go.
Everybody's sitting at the table.
I want to go to Cinnamon Bay. It's in the Caribbean.
Everybody that's sitting at the table that's Italian, raise your hand real quick. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hey Jeff,
Yes, ma'am?
us, Chris.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yes,
You see
it
that?
is 1.5
1.5
to 1.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay,
The
right,
half
guys.
matters.
Here we go.
This
Sink.
is
Okay,
it right
so
here.
you know though.
Sink.
This is
I
the
almost
winning.
put Italy because
Okay,
I
this is
thought
it.
you were going to put Italy.
This is it.
Well, the goal is
Okay.
to win,
But-
not to be truthful.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So she's stranded on an island and can only bring one item. What is she bringing?
Oh, that's easy.
Gosh, I wouldn't
Super
make it a
easy.
day.
That's super easy.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yup.
Wait.
I'm stranded on an
Wait.
island
Yup.
Like
and I can only bring one item. That's like anything?
It's
Yeah, but
Are you
this,
close?
This is a no-brainer,
okay,
Bonnie.
but is it though? Because
It
do
is.
we have
You've got a
Wi-Fi
solar
access?
charger. Don't worry about it.
Well, it could be turned on, but it might not have access to anything.
Plug it into a coconut.
Okay, let's pretend.
You know, I know what
You're
you're trying to
cheating.
do. She's answering it. She
You're
already
cheating.
Knew, she already knew what she
I
was
call
saying.
faulty on this.
No.
There's no way. We all know
don't
what
even
you.
know
We
what
all
I
know
would
what you
put.
wrote now.
Well, you know what she was thinking.
Okay.
only way.
Okay, right.
Hey, don't you
Write
like to
something.
read? Don't you like to read?
Stop it. Stop it.
What do people like to read?
Stop it. Okay. Jeff,
Yes.
what did
I
you
said
choose for
iPhone.
Bonnie?
Bonnie's iPhone.
Okay.
Okay, well, there's that, but I would bring my Switch.
What?
Oh my goodness, you missed it after he said plug it into a coconut with a solar
Are
charger.
you flipping serious?
All right, Chris, what'd you get for me?
Well, I say
Nintendo
a
Switch.
book.
My Bible.
Her Bible.
Hey, it's a
that
book.
counts.
Oh,
Okay,
can I have a half a point for that?
Yes,
Yeah. Well, no,
yes.
it's a book. It counts.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
all right.
66
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait. It's 66 books.
66 books.
Okay.
In one.
Hard.
All right.
It was hard.
One God,
okay,
three
okay,
persons.
wait,
It was
wait.
hard.
Believe it.
Quinn.
They won.
It was just hard.
They
Yes.
won.
I don't know if we
2
really
to
did.
1.5.
I gave it away.
2 to
You did
1.5.
Okay. So.
Hey, even
Because
you
I'm
know
a
why?
giver.
Because you tried
I'm
to
a
cheat.
giver.
God judged you.
Oh my gosh.
I did not try to cheat.
You said plug it in.
Okay, so today we are talking about priorities and loyalty.
He said solar charger. He actually said solar charger.
And we're going to start by reading Luke 10:38 through 42.
Okay.
Okay.
So, this
Luke
is
10.
Jesus visits Martha and Mary. Verse 38, as Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
I want to go ahead and say a few things about this. Number one, and that is, first of all, what a great passage, and what a great example that is set, for us, because it could apply to so many different situations. But the thing that sticks out to me is that Martha gets a bad rap.
Yes,
Right?
she does.
She really does, because what she is doing is not inherently wrong. It is not wrong. Her intent, her motive was very good. She wants to be a good host, and after all, if she is the hostess, what better person to serve, and what better way to put all of your efforts toward being a great hostess, if not for Jesus, for who, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be a good host, or people say, she gets a bad rap. That wasn't her problem. That wasn't her mistake. Her mistake was thinking that was more important than putting Jesus first, right? So Mary was putting Jesus first, ignoring the other things, and sitting at Jesus' feet and making him the biggest priority in the moment. And what Martha was doing is she was saying, it's unfair that she's doing this, and she should be this. And what that is that's like a stacking of priorities. So serving and being a hostess is not where the mistake came from. The mistake is putting that in front of Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we need to remind ourselves of, right? It's not bad to do what she did. It's just bad to choose that over Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, there are plenty of people who I've known over the years that got scolded because they're a Martha. They are a worker bee, and but worker bees aren't bad. Just make sure that the main thing is the main thing, and also keep in mind how unique that was. Jesus was in their home, right? Like in person, live. They were living with Jesus. He was right there in front of them, and he's like, "Hey, man," Jesus is like, I've seen all eternity past, and I know what is in store for all eternity future. And I'm telling you, at this moment, Mary has chosen what's best, because this is a very unique time, and she recognizes it. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's a tough passage for me.
It is. It's a very
as
tough
as a doer person to wrap my head around a little bit, because to me, I would have I would have been like, hey, if you would get up and help me, we could both sit here
Yep.
and do this. That would be, I would be feeling all those, the conflict and anger thing. Again, like, if you would just, lend a hand, we could both be doing the most important thing.
Yeah.
So that would have been my take, but I definitely would have been the Martha.
Oh,
in there. Yeah.
I've always struggled with this. I remember even being a young wife, maybe young mother, and hearing pastors and speakers on this and reading the books that are written on it. And I'm like, I'm Martha. What the heck? Like, I am Martha. But then I realize, I love Jesus. Like, I get what Mary did, but it helped hearing what you said. I want to just prep for Jesus. I want to get all those things done. And that's why I understood why she kind of yelled at Mary a little bit. Like, the whole, if you would help me, we could just
Right.
get going. But then I realized who Jesus is. Like, it's Jesus. None of that matters. It took me a long time to realize that. It's about Jesus.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think dinner does matter, right?
Thank you.
It really
It does,
does.
yeah.
So if she hadn't said anything, this story wouldn't be in the Bible.
Oh.
Right? So his correction is, you're worried and upset. Right? He wasn't saying, hey, get out of the kitchen and come in here and sit down. He never calls her in. It's her being mad. That's what he's correcting. Right? And so, hey, Mary's chosen to do this. You're upset. Don't be upset. That seems to be, because if she hadn't said, Lord, this is unfair, this story wouldn't have been in the Bible, because Jesus went to a whole bunch of dinners and somebody was always prepping and other people were sitting at the table, right? So I think it wouldn't have been in the Bible if she hadn't been upset about it. Maybe if we just took our role and said, hey, my role is I am the server for Jesus, and the other person saying I'm the learner for Jesus, it's okay that we both have our roles. She's upset that Mary isn't doing her role, right? Seems to be the thing for me, because because there's a whole bunch of meals Jesus goes to, but this is the only time he brings this up. And I think if she hadn't said anything, I don't think this would have been in the Bible at all.
It's a really interesting perspective. It is.
It's the right one.
Oh, boy.
Back to the humility thing from
Humility.
last week, yeah. So, yeah, no, it just jumped off the page for me, because my instinct is to talk about priorities, like Chris, and I always say duties never conflict, right?
And then
Which
I always
makes-
follow up with
until they do.
until they do.
Bonnie gets mad about that. But
Yeah.
priorities, which is really what we're talking about here, priorities, there's always something more important than the other thing. Always. Even God kind of established that way. We're talking in the context of relationships, but the very first relationship was humanity with God. So that's the most important thing, your relationship with God. That's what Jesus is highlighting here with the Mary Martha thing. The next most important relationship is with humanity, particularly with your spouse. Then he says, be fruitful and multiply. So then it's your family and children. Your children shouldn't take priority over your spouse. And then after your children, he says, now go and tend the garden, and he gives them a job, right? So it's your relationship with God, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children, and then your relationship with your extended family, and then your relationship with your job and the greater world, right? And so those things don't conflict. A while back, I had to leave. I was going overseas for something, and our daughter was going to school. She's being an esthetician, and it was the first day she could have a customer, and but she didn't have a customer lined up, so she's all sad. Bonnie goes, "Oh, Jenna doesn't have a customer. You should go." And I was like, "Oh, I have a meeting." And she goes, "Duties never conflict."
I loved it.
Didn't you?
My moment.
And you know what I did? I canceled my meeting, and I went, and I was her first customer before I went off.
That was
So
a
I was
big
glowing.
deal.
I was out in the bush in Africa, and I was just glowing. Everybody could say, "Oh, Jeff, your skin looks amazing." I had a facial. I'd never had a facial before, but I did, right? Because in that moment, my daughter needed me more than I needed to be in that last meeting before I flew out overseas, right? And so she used that tool as a weapon against me. But it was really easy to make the decision in the moment. When I was confronted with that issue, she's right. My daughter's more important than this meeting. So I have to go do it. Now, I can't blow off every meeting from my daughter, because my daughter also likes to live indoors and eat food.
Yes.
Right? So just her demands aren't it, but her need in the moment was greater. So, yeah.
That's so good. That's great.
All right. Well, let me look at John 15, verses 12 and 13. And
John comes after Luke, right?
Yes, it does. That's what I've heard in the song.
This Bible is different.
And if you have the Bible with Jesus' words in red, these are red words.
They are.
Very important. These are the words of Jesus. John 15, 12, and 13. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life. Let me say it again. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends since I've told you everything the Father told me. I added a couple extra verses in there.
That's
Yeah.
good. They were good
But
ones.
they
though.
were emphasis.
They were good ones.
They
They
were
were
good.
good ones.
They were in red.
all those bad
Bible
ones. I'm
verses.
glad you didn't have any
Hey,
bad
but you know
good.
what? Let's just sum it up with verse 16 because it puts it all together.
Do it.
You didn't choose me. I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my commandment. Love each other. So he starts it out and he sums it up with the last.
Yeah.
This
Love
is
each other.
this is my commandment. It's not my suggestion. Love each other, man. That's hard sometimes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an amazing passage. There's so much in there.
Yes, there is.
Whew.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that really jumps off the page for me, the love each other thing, I think spouses say, well, that's why I got married, right? You ever hear the old joke about the lady, how come you never tell me you love me? And he said, I told you I loved you the day we got married. And if my opinion changes, I'll let you know, right?
Wow.
Some people just don't express those with those words a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask, spouses, hey, do you love her? Do you love him? Yes, of course I love. And it's easy to say those words. But Jesus rarely ever just generically says, love people. Like he says in another place, love your enemies. But he doesn't leave it at love your enemies. He says, pray for your enemies. Then he says, do good for your enemies. All in the same passage, right? In this situation, he says, love each other as I have loved you. So he's always quantifying because we can claim love. I'm fond of you. I like you. I love you. I desire you. There's all kinds of words we can mean by that. But here he's saying, he's quantifying it by saying, love like I loved you, which is, I'm in a minute, he's going to give his life, right? He's going to die for them in just a few more days. And so it's this sacrificial love, this acceptance. Nobody else called Peter. Nobody else called John. Nobody else called Andrew, right? He did. I pick you. When nobody else wanted you, none of the other rabbis called you, I chose you. And then on top of that, I've given 3.5 years to you. I've developed you. And now I'm going to give everything for you. I'm going to give my life for you. And he says, so I want you to love each other like that.
Yeah.
Right? So he really defines what he means by love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and this is it's important to know that he asks us to agape love each other. So he says, love each other in the same way, and, that I have loved you. Agape is the Greek word unconditional, right? So it's not a friendship love. It's not the romantic love, all those different Greek words in the Bible. It's actually agape, sacrificial love, unconditional love. And you said it right there. He's about to lay down his life. He says that, no greater love than to lay down your life with one's friends.
Right.
And, we overuse the word love so often in the Bible. Right? Like, just a minute ago, we played the Newlywed Game, and you're like, oh, you'll say, like, I love puffy Cheetos. Then you look at your wife and say, oh, and I love you too. Right? And so, because we overuse that word, your wife has no choice but to compare herself to puffy Cheetos.
Right.
Because what other
Which are
choice have we given her?
delicious.
That's right.
Right? So we have to understand that this word has been overused with society. In fact, it's probably the most overused word and thrown around so flippantly. That's the reason why you hear people say, like, oh, I've fallen out of love. I just don't feel for you the way that I used to feel for you.
Right.
As if that's the only definition of the word love is feelings. Well, no duh. You don't feel for me. We've been married for 32 years, right? I mean, you're going to love somebody when you don't even like them. And anybody married 32 years understands that.
No, I don't know. Have any idea what you're talking about.
Hey, I'll go further than that. Anybody married for 5 minutes understand what that means.
Yes.
That we're commanded to love each other when we don't like them.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah,
So-
I love that he just he re-ups calling us friends twice in there.
Yeah.
I remember hearing in my past about God doesn't want to be your friend. You're, the emphasizing the servant part and all this stuff. And I'm like, did these people read the Bible? A friend of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. You just those 3 words, friend of God. What in the world?
And that's how
God
he loves
would call
us.
me that? Wow.
Yeah. He said,
Yeah.
love each other like I love you.
Yep.
And then he pivots to, he calls them friend. It's interesting. A lot of people get married. A lot of guys get married because they want somebody to make sandwiches, clean the house, and do the laundry.
I want a mom.
They want a mom. Some women get married because they need somebody to do all the stuff men are supposed to do. Right? Give me babies, reach the thing off the top shelf,
Mow the lawn.
get the jar off the thing, mow the lawn, fix the car,
Get the washing
Provide,
us.
pay the bills.
Yeah, pay the
Right?
bills.
So a lot of times guys show up at weddings and discover they're an accessory to her marriage. Right? She's got her purse, her shoes, and her man. And he shows up and she finds out that she's the servant that he's always wanted, right? The
Right.
live-in servant with all the benefits. And so we both can default into servant. What we mean in the relationship is I need you to be my servant. And Jesus goes, hey, that's not how I love you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
I love you like a friend.
Yeah.
Right?
We serve because we love.
We're side by side
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And service comes because we love each other.
And you know what's so funny about what you just said is that in 2024, people would hear that and go, oh, you can't say those things anymore. Servant and provider and those kinds of roles are so, right? And here's the thing. The only difference between 50 years ago and 2024, the biggest difference is people still do exactly what you just said. They just won't be able to talk about it politically.
Yeah.
That's exactly
goofy,
it.
yeah.
Because people do those things now.
Yeah.
Like I can't even tell you the number of times if we were to call one of our care pastors in and say, so tell me, do those things still exist today? They would say, absolutely they do.
Yeah.
Right? Because people have, their natural tendencies on the inside to do those things. Hey, I will say this too. The idea that you said he emphasizes friend, it reminds me of the prodigal son because, in the prodigal son, he's a son. He's not a friend. But it's the opposite of servant. Jesus says, I don't call you slaves. I don't call you servant. And I thought about the prodigal son who comes home and says, I'm unworthy. Please make me as one of your servants. And the father doesn't even listen to him.
Right.
And he says, bring a robe, bring a ring, bring some sandals, bring the fatted calf, right? You're not going to be a servant. And it's just a great... beautiful picture from the people who do, that old timey fire and brimstone preaching that says, let's emphasize the servant part. It's we are to serve God, but as a child of God, as a friend of God, as an adopted, into God's family, as an heir of God, right?
Yeah.
These are the things that God calls us.
It took me a long time in my previous life to realize now I'm serving God because I want to, because I love
Not 'cause
love God.
initially you have
It's
to,
not
yeah.
because I have to.
Yeah.
That whole friend of God relationship and the love part. It took a long time for me to feel that, to be able to acknowledge that part instead of God always wanting to beat me over the head with the stick presentation. You
Yeah.
know.
It's also the book of John it's the book of John where he says, I call you friend, not servant. It's also the book of John where he says, if you love me, keep my commandments.
Yeah.
So Jesus is even suggesting motivation for doing the right thing, for serving him, for obeying him, should be out of love and not out of compulsion.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, that's great. It looks like our time. So show up next week, and hopefully we'll be talking about communication. And thank you for joining this episode of HC Groups featuring the Bible Guys and the Bible
And the
Gals.
gals.
Woohoo!